The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Welcome to it. Tuesdays here at Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, and you. We'll get our starting five shout-out going here shortly, but it is all about move-in day as the Huskers head to the dorms and camp begins tomorrow. Numbers to get in, 489-1240, 489-1240, 800-825-5865. Can email Chris at hailvarsity.com. And always share your thoughts. We'll get to as many as possible on the YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to Hail Varsity YouTube. Follow and also comment on Twitter at HVarsity Radio for Hail Varsity Radio. At Herbal Essence for Elijah. Give Elijah a follow. Chris Schmidt at Schmidt_radio for me. But you can relate. At some point in your life, you moved. You moved out. You moved in. You did it yourself, you had family help you, or you had a handful of buddies get it handled for you. It's stressful, it sucks, but ultimately it may have been a good thing. This is for that camaraderie, that shared suck, so to speak, where you're just grinding, and it's to make you better physically and mentally from a toughness standpoint. And it's far from roughing it, Elijah, but it's still not the accommodations you're quite used to. It's funny to hear the 6'9" and the 6'10" guy, Ben Hard and Teddy P, talk about real world issues. As in, if you're that tall, damn it, you need a big bed, and they aren't going to have the comforts of home with that normal bed they're used to. So think about being a large dude and having a bed that fits that 6'10", 6'9" frame. Just one of the many things that you're going to have to get used to. I'm remembering my move-in day to the dorm 1,000 years ago. And my buddy Reggie from high school helped me and then threatened my life after he helped me. Because the elevator, one of them was busted at Able, the other was too slammed. So we did we were on the 6th floor, so we did the 6th flight, walk up and back with boxes of not always light things. Some of the things were heavy. And then he was a heavy smoker since he was like 12. Reggie said, never again. And it was one of those 1,000-degree August days.
I bet the glutes look great after that, though. Carrying all those boxes up the stairs.
I was in shape, and it worked out. Today would not have been a good day for me to move, let alone hop up 6 flights. But I would have gave her hell. I would have tried. 489-1240 to get in.
In your boot, you probably would have been complaining the whole time, too.
I would complain internally, not outwardly. Don't paint me as a complainer. And you, Grandpa, is in. Arlo checks in. Jeff is third. Good to have you, Jeff. Uncle Jimmy is here. Brent says, what's up? And Crazy Spider Adventures also is in. The other Dave says lots to catch up on today. The real Matthew is in. Tiger Shark Diver here, as well as Michael and Patrick, the real Matthew, and Coach Brandon, Mr. Erickson as well. 39th and holding. Good for you, Brent. Larry is here. Dylan checks in. Not that Dylan, but we'll take you, Dylan. Cliff in all the way from Florida. Cliff is in Wilbur for check days. That's a great time. Anytime you can get beer in the 2-gallon handle milk crates, the 2-gallon milk packaging.
You can do that in Wilbur?
Yeah, at least that's how I remember check days at Wilbur.
Why are we not in Wilbur?
Someday this weekend.
Hail Varsity Roadshow.
I think so. 3-putt is in. Michael is in from North Carolina. Anonymous is here as well. Black Hills Brennan, the other Brian, and Clay. Clay, good to have a drink with you at 1933 last week, dude. It's good to hang out. That was awesome. Tiger Shark was able 7, so that was one more flight of stairs back in the day that the Tiger Shark diver had to matriculate and navigate. So it's dorm life. It will be heated. It will be tense. And the topic is no sympathy. Tommy Hill said it best. Matt Rhule shared it today. And when it comes down to it, you need the best on the field to give you the greatest opportunity to win. That's the mentality for Nebraska. Jason also checks in the stream, Hail Varsity YouTube. So, listen, questions as we go into spring football.
Into fall.
I was going to say questions we had going into spring.
I see what you're saying.
Were, all right, what's the line look like? Who's staying? Who's going? What's this quarterback room all about? How about wide receivers, right? And then you felt pretty good about the defense. Well, you had some questions coming out of spring football, as in who's playing corner opposite Tommy Hill with an injury. Are those young guys going to get up to speed after getting a taste in the wide receiver room? And can the offensive line as a unit turn into something that's dominant? Might be a big ask, but steady is a fair ask. And as we fast forward to fall, with the quarterback question, that's still there. Who's it going to be? I think we all know the answer, but how soon is that going to be revealed? How long do you go into camp before you name your starting quarterback? You've had great work done in the offseason by that quarterback room. Do you have an elite defense? Not elite depth, but do you have guys every level of the defense that can be difference makers and problems for offense? That's all part of what this day represents, as it's move-in day and it's day one for camp, but it really kind of starts now. And it started, quite frankly, this off-season, post-spring.
I think you forgot one more big question going into fall camp, which is what the hell is the Oregon Duck doing here? Well,
and he walked up, and we were in the media session earlier before Coach Rhule showed up, and here comes the Oregon Duck. And we're like, We'll talk to Mitch Sherman coming up in 10 minutes about that. Blake is in for the first time since Arizona. Thank you much, Blake. Excuse me. But, no, he was there, and he kind of snuck up behind me, and I was like, all right, Scrooge McDuck, let's get a picture. Because really, it may have been Uncle Phil. Phil Knight's been to Memorial Stadium before.
Do you think he'd really put on the Oregon Duck
I don't
costume?
know. He was moving a little too quick to be Uncle Phil. But that's what Mitch and I were laughing about. Maybe it's Phil Knight. Maybe it's Phil Knight scoping out all that Adidas gear in Lincoln that needs to be Nike. Who knows?
Is there some sort of mascot brawl going down? I'm trying to figure out just why the Oregon would spend the money to send their duck to Lincoln.
How about the fact you had that giant inflatable duck in Indy on whatever waterfront that was peeking into the room. Let's hear a little bit from
Could have had the Oregon Duck floating down Salt Creek.
How'd that get there, and how long did it take to blow up? Right, that's the question. Let's hear a little bit as we dive into a lot of football today from Matt Rhule. We'll hear from Satterfield. Satterfield on the offense, on the quarterback situation, and then Mr. Tony White, defensive coordinator extraordinaire. How do his guys get even better? We know how that happens. That's takeaways. That's quarterback harassment, but they still will do it. So one thing that's interesting is just this team's mentality. We've heard about the resiliency. Rhule told us about it last week at Media Days, that confidence in those key moments. And what he does have right now is a team that is ready to go, ready to get going for fall camp. Cut to here, Matt Rhule earlier today.
Yeah, I think probably for the guys it's a sense of relief. I think they've been highly anticipating it. I think this was a really, really hard summer. I asked Corey, I said, I don't care, just give me a tough team. That's all I care about. I don't care about anything else. To the point that when I'm in the office and they're working out, I went out one time. I never went out to watch them. I wanted them to have this time with themselves. So I think probably getting to football, getting out of, boot camp and getting to football is probably exciting for them, but also relief because I know a lot of these guys, the guys that came back, they came back because they want to get to the season. Now what we have to do now is not start looking ahead to the games. We've got to just dominate every single day. And this is one of my favorite times of the year. My favorite time of the year is probably like Matt Rhule season, and I love this time of year. Obviously I love the games, don't get me wrong, but I just, watching these guys grow, develop, overcome adversity
is something that this team's done. They got to overcome that adversity in 2024 in what we think. As you look at the schedule, Elijah, how many coin flip games? Half of them?
Sure.
I mean, fair?
Sure.
Right?
Well, I mean, based on what we've seen from Nebraska, every game's a coin flip game. Like, aside from maybe Ohio State, you give Ohio State the edge in that one. But I'm not willing to say any game is not a coin flip game until this team proves otherwise. I mean, maybe UTEP and Northern Iowa would be the two I don't put down as potential coin flips. But everything else, based on Nebraska's recent history, I'm probably going to say is going to be a close game until I'm proven otherwise.
Let's talk Heinrich Haarberg, your incumbent, his offseason, and he heads in trying to fend off a really highly touted freshman that is here to do one thing, and that's change Nebraska's quarterback room.
Well, I mean, we have our black jerseys in the offseason. He's black jersey every single day. He's, first of all, he's a Madden build-a-player. I guess they'll have college football build-a-player. Like, he's 6'4", 225 pounds, one of the fastest guys on the team, most explosive, loves to work out. My challenge to Heinrich has been the elite list is based upon everything performance-related. For you, it's about learning the offense at not at like a level 2 mastery, not even at level 3. I mean, level 4, where you're unconsciously able to perform without having to think. And, your mechanics, your accuracy. And so I'm anxious to see Heinrich these next weeks, For me, and I said it at Media Day a couple times, I don't know if people get it, like, they've worked so hard, and greatness usually happens outside of the time they're with us. With Corey and them, but not with us. I'm anxious to see what the growth that Heinrich's made, because I'm sure he's made a ton of it. He's a huge part of this team, and he's going to have great days ahead. So, look forward to seeing him.
That is the comment on Haarberg. What about Dylan Raiola? Getting the young player ready, that's uber talented, that's a gifted player at his age, getting him ready, but still also making sure he's confident, cut 6.
I think anytime you play any young player, you want to go at their pace. Unfortunately, if you want to play quarterback as a freshman, the schedule's a schedule. The standard's a standard. 8:31 comes around pretty quickly, and you better be ready. So, I think a lot of that, again, we're going to have to see where he is. We're going to see where everyone is on the team based upon the work they put in the summer. But our job is not to get anybody ready to play. Our job is to give them opportunities. They have to get themselves ready to play. Like, if it means you stay up for 2 extra hours a night and study more film, if it means it takes what it takes. Because when 8:31 comes around, we have to be ready to play at a high level. So the thing I like about really all the freshmen that I think are competing to play is they kind of understand the standard. They kind of understand, like, hey, this is what we do, and we'll have a really competitive camp. I like to have the most competitive camp I've ever had, and we'll see who's standing at the end.
Real quick, Mitch Sherman coming up in hour 2. Jeremiah Sirles previews fall 2024, and then a little fullback with a Cowboy collar. How about that? Joel Makovicka going to be with us, and when I say a little fullback, that's not a height joke, Joel. That's just we'll mix in a little fullback. Last thought from Rhule here: you've got a bunch of dudes in the wide receiver and DB room, playing time and hurt feelings. How do you deal with it?
Yeah, I think we do the best to be fair, do the best to be equitable, but everything can't be equal. And as Tommy Hill said at our senior retreat, to be quite honest, like, it's time to win. Like, there's no sympathy, like, you got to be fair, but this isn't, everyone had all summer, all spring opportunities to get here. Now, because we utilize the model of practice that we use, everyone's going to get reps. It's going to come down to the games, right? It's going to come down to the game reps. And even things like, you get done with practice, you get done with meetings, Sam, it's like 9 o'clock at night, man. You just want to go back to your room and play the game. You know what? You better go back and study your plays for the next day. Or even more importantly, you better get in the training room, make sure that hamstring is tight. Like, you know what? Like, if you miss a couple days, it's not that you're going to fall out of the two deep. But all of a sudden, that one slant and go that we love to run, man, I tell you what, I gave Nayor a chance to run it because I was out for a day or two, and he runs it better than I do. So you better stay healthy. You better stay on the field. But this is what the NFL's like, right? You have a number one receiver that everyone else is fighting for their lives. It's good that they learn this now. We'll do it with empathy. We'll do it with humility. We'll care them, walk them through it, but there won't be sympathy. The best players are going to get on the field and play.
No sympathy. You know, can't feel sorry for yourself. Go do your best. If your best isn't good enough, there's someone better that needs to translate into wins. No favorites here, Elijah.
Well, it's the flip side of the college football world kind of moving towards a professional model with players getting paid, the amount of money that is going to coaches. Pressure's on everybody. And you either nut up or you fall to the side. You nut up or shut up. That's it's a cutthroat world, but that's the way you move. That's the give and the take. It's a real world. It's the give and the take of this player empowerment era that we're in with the transfer portal and with NIL. Yeah, you're going to be taken care of better than ever before for playing the game of college football. But the flip side of that is
go produce.
There's not much sympathy if you're not living up to standards.
Nope. Go produce. We'll check in. Mitch Sherman going to be with us from The Athletic. Papa Sirles at about 45 minutes. Joe Makovicka. Loaded Tuesday for you. Great to have you in on Hail Varsity Radio. And we're powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for spending time at Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager. And big thanks to Mitch Sherman as he joins us here from The Athletic. At Mitch Sherman on Twitter is where you follow him. The Locked On Nebraska podcast is where you can also hear him.
I need to go back 15 seconds. I missed the Unleash the Fury intro.
Well, Mitch almost unleashed the fury on that Oregon Duck earlier this morning. Did we decide, Mitch, if that was Uncle Phil in the duck costume?
I think it is. Yeah, I think we should believe that it is. I mean, it seems like something that he would want to do is spend. Apparently, it's several days on the road that the Oregon Duck is going to go visit numerous schools, and I would think that would be a good use of Phil Knight's time.
Sure.
What is this? Is this a publicity tour? Is this
it's a welcome to the Big Ten?
Welcome to the Big Ten. You trying to play nice before you come in and kick everyone's ass? Like, I'm confused.
Yeah, it kind of seems like what it is. I mean, maybe Oregon rubbed some people the wrong way with the announcement or the pronouncement last week in Indianapolis that it planned to float the duck in every Big Ten town, like the big giant inflatable duck. The big giant inflatable duck is more obnoxious by about 100 times than the nice furry mascot that showed up in Lincoln on Tuesday. I don't think that the inflatable mascot, and this was more my observations from reading the fan responses on social media, I don't believe the big inflatable mascot would go over well floating in lakes of the Big Ten or on top of ice in lakes on the Big Ten as we get later in the season. But the duck, the furry duck, is a nice touch, and in July and early August, I think most places in the Big Ten will go ahead and play nice with the duck. It wouldn't be met with quite the same cordial greeting if this happened like a year from now, maybe, or even in November.
Well, let's go Mike Leach with this. If it wasn't cordial, I mean, I don't think the duck stands a chance. A Wolverine?
I'm not worried about a mascot fight. I'm just worried about, are you making the Oregon Duck mascot run stadium stairs today or tomorrow in costume?
He should do everything that he can to endear himself to the fans around the league. Now that it's like known, Nebraska was the first stop. I guess it's the westernmost stop in the old guard of the Big Ten. So you come to Nebraska. I don't know. We didn't go to Seattle. I guess that they're accustomed to the duck and probably don't want to see the duck on the Washington campus right now. So he's just coming to the to his new friends. Yeah, I don't know if Herbie Husker, how that would go. Herbie Husker is a burly Farmer, so I think it would shoot the duck. Probably.
Sure.
Yeah.
Farmer's always had that concealed carry going.
Well, right. I mean, it's hunting gear, right? I mean, just make it happen.
Well, who does win though in a mascot battle royale among the Big Ten?
No.
Oh, you really do. You really want to go Mike Leach. A Wolverine, a Trojan would fare well, I think. There's a bear involved in this discussion now.
I go Bruin.
Yeah,
might come down to Trojan versus Spartan.
I would like my chances with a lion, with the Nittany Lion, a Scarlet Knight. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of animals that would fare much better than the duck. The duck would stand a good chance against the turtle. We could get that one going.
Pay-per-view. Mitch, you had Coach Rhule, you had Sat, you had Tony White, you had Coach Foley, a lot of players. And I want to get your thoughts on that quarterback situation. As Dylan Raiola and company all working hard in the offseason, they now move into the dorm. And, it was asked earlier today about, all right, you have this talent, but you don't want to put the talent at risk. When it comes to the quarterback situation, and I'm interested to get your thoughts on handling the quarterback competition moving forward here. And at what point do you make that determination here?
Well, it's maybe already been determined, but it's not going to be announced publicly.
Okay, better call. Yeah, when's the announce?
And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you have to announce it anytime soon. And I think the coaches are genuine in saying that they're all going to get a chance this month. We saw Dylan in the spring game perform very well. I don't know that it was a day-by-day dominance that he had through the spring. I think they kind of took their turns, having good days and better days. And then we saw at the end what Dylan can be. And there's no question that this year he has the highest ceiling and, I think is going to be the most consistent player as they go through camp. And the one who is just, he's the heir apparent. I'm writing a story that'll publish tomorrow morning on The Athletic about all that Dylan has done in his off season from May through last week. And everything just screams starting quarterback. Now, something could happen, and maybe he turns an ankle, and I probably shouldn't even mention those words, but it won't impact anything, I promise you. It would just me. I cannot speak that into existence. But we'll see how August goes. I mean, I think we all just assume it's a foregone conclusion, and it probably is. How does Matt Rhule choose to handle it? I believe he's going to wait a while. He did make an interesting comment in Indianapolis at Big Ten Media Days about how the reps will begin to skew in the direction of a player who is performing or is outperforming the others. So, it's not like the team is going to be in high anxiety mode trying to figure out who the starting quarterback is alongside the public. They'll have a real idea if and when Dylan's getting 80% of the first team reps or 70% of the first team reps. And if that doesn't happen, then they'll roll with it. I don't believe that Rhule is, it's not like he's not married to the need to rush into anything. Dylan's going to get his day in the sun. I think we believe that's going to come August 31st, but whenever it does come, it'll happen when they think he's ready.
Mitch, let's talk about management with Rhule. Assuming he's the guy that takes the first snap against UTEP, which I think as of right now is probably a safe assumption to make. Do you think you give the freshman quarterback a short leash should things not go well in any particular game? I guess do you want to hide him from hardship, or do you think your freshman quarterback has to embrace the hardship? Because it's almost a given in college football. Hardship is going to come for a true freshman starting quarterback.
Yeah, as long as he's not out there getting beat up, and I think they have trust in their offensive line. It's interesting to kind of go through some of the interviews with the coaches and players today, and I think there's a real belief. It's not some years you hear this said, and it kind of has to be a talking point because you play in the Big Ten and you know the importance of line play and physicality, and it's said that they believe in the offensive line and the defensive line. I think this year it's a truth, an absolute truth, that the offensive line and the defensive line are two of the biggest strengths, if not the two biggest strengths, the two biggest knowns going into this football season. And that's important for Dylan Raiola, that he has that kind of protection. So you hope that the offensive line and Dylan's uncle can keep everybody healthy up front. And as long as the hardships that you're talking about are more related to, hey, he missed a read, or he didn't see that blitz, he threw an interception, whatever, he turned the wrong direction. You're going to have those hiccups for a freshman. He's not going to do everything right. It's just not. It doesn't work that way. I heard a coach at Big Ten Media Days talk about young quarterbacks and how they start to look really good at a certain point in practice because they're seeing the same thing every day. And when you get into a season, it's something completely new every single week. So that's what's going to happen for him if he's the guy out there going through September and October, and that'll take an adjustment period. And yeah, you have to let him ride through it. You have to let him work through it. It doesn't send the right message if you just say, all right, you're on a short leash, and if you make two mistakes here in the first quarter of week 2, then you're on the bench because we've got somebody else who can go in after you. Now, quarterback's not a position that works like that in most situations.
Mitch Sherman's with us from The Athletic, Hail Varsity Radio. Mitch, there's high expectations for the defense. What do you envision Tony White's second-year group being?
More comfortable in their assignments, in their own skin. I think they're going to get more aggressive. I do think they're going to go after the ball more. I think last year there was maybe too much emphasis on being safe and not allowing big plays, and it worked for them to have a very good defense. But they have to, and I think they're prepared to, with the number of players that this group has back, and again, strong up front. Ty Robinson, Nash Hutmaker, Jamari Butler, they're going to form one of the better defensive lines in the Big Ten. And, there's depth behind those guys that will help keep them fresh as games go on and as the season goes on. So that's a good situation for Terrence Knighton and Tony White in that group. And then, there's some questions at linebacker, but I think there's potential answers. And then they have experience with Isaac Gifford and Tommy Hill and Deshaun Singleton, and some questions to answer beyond those guys in the secondary. But they have the makings of a very good defense that can go to the next level by generating turnovers, making big plays, and just kind of playing with more abandon. I think that's what Tony White's going to be after in a big way here as they go through August. And we'll see. We'll see when they get a week or two in if that's the way that this group plays.
Mitch, about 45 seconds left here. If that Husker defense can become dominant, what would that look like to you?
Yeah, I think it's about creating havoc, like I was just talking about being a team that no matter who the opponent is, they're always, you kind of get that sense sometimes when Nebraska's gone against teams or when Nebraska's had a great defense, that they're always just kind of one play away from a game-changing moment. And that's where this defense has to get. They're solid, they're fundamental, they're experienced. I think they're going to do the basic things right, but to go to the next level, it's about just creating real difficulty for the opposing offense to get anything going because the black shirts are a threat to take the ball away in any situation. And that wasn't who they were last year. They produced 14 turnovers, and they will work to, if not double that number in 2024, to improve on it by quite a bit.
Mitch Sherman with The Athletic, Locked On Nebraska Pod, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, we'll check in again down the road. Thanks for a few minutes, bud.
Okay, thanks, guys. Take care.
There he is, Mitch Sherman with us. We'll check in with Jeremiah Sirles here in 25 minutes. Hail Varsity continues.
Hail Varsity Radio is live. Now, back to Schmitty.
Schmitty's a great guy, but he don't have a brain.
And Elijah.
You want me to speak? When I point you, yeah.
On Hail Varsity Radio.
Good stuff from Mitch Sherman. If you just caught part of it, want to hear it again, podcast page there for you, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Like and subscribe to Hail Varsity Radio Podcast, the audio version, the video portion uploaded nightly by the tremendous Elijah Herbel, Hail Varsity YouTube, and also rewatch on Hail Varsity Radio Twitter. So we started off talking about the Oregon Duck mascot. Tiger Shark jumps in with Herbie Husker with a 12-gauge shotgun. The live reenactment of the classic video game Duck Hunt. Black Hills Brennan frightening me. Any reason to believe Connor Stallions was in the duck costume?
Getting some scouting in.
That's pretty good. Brett is reporting for duty. Brett, good to have you in. Eric is in. And Coach Brandon wants 50 turnovers through 16 games. No, that's just it. I mean, that was a talking point today was the defense and not resting on their laurels, and Tony White talking about making that jump, and Matt Rhule also echoing, well, actually, Tony White echoing what Matt Rhule said is, listen, you'll accentuate the positive publicly, you'll drill down on the details or take a very critical look at yourself behind closed doors. What didn't you do? You didn't get off the field on 3rd and 7 very often, or you didn't in critical moments. And this sounds so almost angry when you throw it out there, but factually, you gave up 4 first downs to Michigan State on 3rd down, but they were all backbreakers, as an example. Or you did a decent job against Maryland. They weren't at 50%. They weren't in the high 40s percentile, conversion rate on you, but you got tagged. You got tagged on a final drive too many times last year, and they know it. And you didn't take the football away. You need to do that. You can play free and fast and angry and all that good stuff, and then really go take some chances to get a turnover, because you know what, you'll be okay. You're not worried about screwing up. And Matt Rhule touched on that in our first segment with just his team's mentality. They didn't want to be the reason they lost that side of the football because they knew they had to carry the team a year ago. So pretty interesting dynamic.
And in the modern college football, it's a lot to ask. I mean, there's very few defenses, college, NFL.
Give up 10, maybe.
Exactly. Exactly. It becomes harder and harder.
Give up a drive and let them cross the 50 a second time for a 50-50 field goal.
I mean, it's all because of things we've talked about that makes the job of defenses harder. Just how prepared some of these quarterbacks are coming into college. The fact that they've been running these West Coast schemes for their entire lives now. You have just better and better passing schemes coming to college football every single year. It's little things that make college football more difficult, and don't even get me started on the advent and the popularization of the RPO, how difficult that makes things on defenses. It's just a much harder and harder task every single year in college football to keep that scoring average low, and the great equalizer is set your offense up. Hey, if you can set your offense up in great field position, they get a touchdown off of that. It's just the same as getting off the field near midfield and keeping them out of field goal range. Like, you're gaining 4 points by getting that turnover, even if you give up a long drive, or potentially it washes out if you have that one 70-yard touchdown pass because you as a safety had your eyes in the backfield. If you later in that game get yourself an interception and set up your offense in plus territory, it's a wash now at this point. That's the great equalizer, is generating turnovers and setting up your offense.
Well, and where do you start where do you start your possession at? Is it a manageable field, 60 or less? Is it a long field? Are you inside the 20? Let's talk about Coach Satterfield. Touched on the bugaboo on that side of the football. That was the turnovers, cut 3, fixing turnovers, takeaways on one side of the ball, and eliminating what was just back-breaking too many times last year.
I think, obviously, we, the citizens of Nebraska, know you can't turn the ball over. And I think that you can talk about that. But I think once our guys globally, coaches, players, everything, look back and know like how different the season could have been last year if we just hold on to the football and don't turn the ball over. I think they know how critical that is. And I think that there's, starting last spring, just the emphasis of taking care of the football. Like if we have to just take a knee 3 times and punt the ball, but we don't turn it over, we'll do that, right? We're not going to turn the ball over anymore. And they know if you turn the ball over, you're not going to play. And I think just talking about the depth that we've developed on offense, we're at a point now where if you do turn the ball over, you're coming out of the game. And, whether you get out there or not again that's yet to be seen.
Let's hear about the quarterbacks. That's your big headline here as you get ready for 2024 and the summer development of quarterbacks. More from Sat.
All three quarterbacks. I haven't really seen them. Coach really made us get away this year in the summer and let the players kind of take over. So last time I saw those guys in June, they had taken another step since the spring from throwing the football. It was an emphasis for us going into spring ball was throwing the football. They had a good June, and then I'm anxious just to get back this week and see where they are. I've obviously heard people talking about, all those guys are developing, and Danny and Heinrich and Dylan, all three of them have great summers. It's great last 3 weeks especially.
So what makes Dylan special? More from Marcus Satterfield.
I think it's his work ethic, the way he attacks it. He'll stay up all night just rewriting notes and rewriting plays just to make sure he can call them, in the proper cadence and the proper rhythm. I think that he's just obsessed with trying to be really, really, really good, and I think that shows in his in the development thus far since he's been here since January, and just anxious to see what it's going to look like this week. All three of those dudes.
And Elijah, you've touched on this a lot this first hour, but that quarterback development, that acceleration, it's real. If you get a blue chip guy, that's a 5-star and a 4-star, they start out with some God-given talent, and they start out ahead of the game, so to speak.
Their understanding of the game is higher than it's ever been.
Their skill set, but also their understanding, and you put that together, presumably you're able to do a lot of things at a young age.
Back in the day, you were a quarterback, you played baseball, basketball, you did everything. I think now it's just so, especially the high-end quarterbacks, they've played quarterback now for 6 or 7 years, and that's all they've done, and they've prepared, and they've learned how to prepare. They've learned how to, watch film at an early age. The offenses, going back down into the high school level are so advanced now. I think that by the time they get on campus here, mentally they're at a higher rate than they were when, 10 years ago. It's just the physical component, like how fast can they physically get ready to get out there and perform.
So, Sat is coaching the tight ends as offensive coordinator, and you have Carter Nelson that he was asked about a little bit earlier, and a lot of excitement for the Nebraska product. His role as he comes in as a true freshman.
More of a position made for him. I think that, any step, whether you're playing 8-man football or 11-man football, when you go from high school to the Big Ten, that's a huge transition physically. So as athletic and as, all the tools that he's been given, that he can use, we didn't want to slow his path to the field down by trying to, make him block a 6'5", 285 defensive end. We wanted him to do what he does best, which is run routes, get open, catch the ball, play in space. So we thought if we taught from the outside back to inside, it'll get him on the field a little bit quicker. So that's kind of the direction why we did that.
Kind of love that, to be honest. You got a special talent. Let's get him on the field, see if he's ready, and not force him into doing something that he may not be ready at. What can he do? He can beat somebody one-on-one right now. We'll wind down hour one. Hail Varsity continues, powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, Papa Sirles coming up. Jeremiah Sirles, his thoughts on the opening of Husker camp. Joe Makovicka, Husker great fullback, Hall of Famer, national champion, Makovicka physical therapy. He'll join us in hour two. Reminder to get buckled up. Coaches make substitutions during the game to get the best players on the field. Getting behind the wheel after drinking also demands a substitution. Impaired driving is deceptively dangerous. A message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Quarterback race, the defense taking a step, and, positionless football, right? I mean, that is something that's very real, and if Nebraska's offense can get to that point, that's pretty awesome. A lot asked about and talked about with helmet communication. It's not that I'm not interested in it. I just don't really worry about it being an issue. If anything, it's a staff and a head coach that knows this, and it's just going to put Nebraska, because they've practiced it. They've been on top of it. It's not going to be an issue.
Well, and doesn't that speak to the culture change? Because if you go back 4 years, after game one with helmet communication, you just know there would have been something in the post-game press conference about something with helmet communication being screwed up, and we're still getting the hang of it, and we're going to be working on that in practice
details.
This week.
It's just details.
You just know. The one thing that is a constant that hasn't changed from 4 years ago, Schmidt, kicking issues.
Yeah, let's. Do we have the Alvano?
Yeah, we do.
So, let's hear from Rhule. Alvano had a little growing issue.
He had a groin that's just been, it's just trending to be in a good way, but a groin that's been bothering him, and had a quick surgery, sort of a 2-week recovery time, and so he's recovered, but he's just not full go. So he'll be working with the training staff and Drew Hamlin and Chris Peduzzi, and shouldn't be too long. Between Hull, we have Ottawanelli in camp, so we have Nico in camp. We have Hull in camp. Alvano, once he's healthy, he'll battle for that job. So I think the thing that we realized, or Ed did a great job of, is the way the season's going to go. A lot of games are going to come down to the kicking game, right? So with Tristan, we know what we have in Tristan. So better not to rush it. Get him healthy. Don't push it. Nico was a high priority player for us in the recruiting process. And then Holes, obviously, we had a chance to coach his older brother, Jacob, who's a fantastic young man, and John has a ton of talent, big leg. Again, taking care of the summer camp opportunities, we were able to have him come in. So he was a scholarship player at another place, and we got him. So they'll all compete for it, and we'll see what happens.
Listen, just go get points. I think you'll have the opportunity for more explosive plays with this offense, but you'll also be able to put together some 9-play extended drives with run and pass. And if you get stalled, just find me some dude that's good from 40 in at a high level.
And I'd also add to it,
just get points.
I'll also add to this, I made the joke, kicking issues haven't changed. One thing that has changed is Nebraska's not going to the club soccer team to find a kicker at this point in the season because, we're screwed there. Yeah, you have some options in the back pocket. I'll also say one thing that can really help is having an offense that if you get to 4th and 2 or 4th and 3 on the plus side of the field, you feel more confident in being able to pick up 4th down instead of sending your kicker out there for a 50-plus yard field goal. You have that option in your back pocket. That would be helpful as well.
What are you doing if you're the play caller and head coach and you don't want to punt because you're on the 38, but damn it, you don't feel good about either the field goal or the first down on 4th and 2?
Some people would say punting is winning.
Well, go into Sirles next.
The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Back into it. It's hour 2. It's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Papa Sirles with us at Sirles71_HSKR. Sirles, what's the good word, man? Are you all geared up for some golf this week? It's going to be nice and toasty for you.
Yeah, a few weeks ago, buddies and I decided, hey, let's go play 36 holes on Wednesday the 31st. And so I'm doing Hidden Valley 18 with a 7:30 tee time, and then I've got a 2:30 tee time at Firethorn, which is just going to be awesome. It's just going to be so much fun, and I'm just going to make sure that I drink a whole lot of this and not a whole lot of the other stuff.
Well, it's nice. 7:30, you'll probably be able to beat the heat somewhat in the morning. 5:30, that tee time might be brutal, but as the evening wears on, you might be okay. There's going to be the sun going down, it's cooling down.
2:30.
Oh, I thought you said 5:30. Oh, you're screwed. Never mind.
Elijah. 2:30.
You're going to melt.
Right in the peak heat of the day, right? Right when the sun is just beating down.
How do you handle the heat through all the years? Training camps, Husker camps, high school camps, keeping your body as fresh as possible while trying to avoid the melt.
I mean, the heat's the one thing you just can't escape. I was always a big fan of you can always put more clothes on, right? I don't mind the cold. Cold doesn't bother me in the slightest. But there's only so much you can do when it just gets to a point where you're it's just so hot, there's no escaping it, right? And the hottest place on earth was Spartanburg, South Carolina for Carolina Panthers camp. I mean, that place was Satan's Gooch. I mean, it was just so hot. And like every step you took, your feet were just bugging with water. And like, I can remember just like you walked at the end, you were just like, all right, where's the IV stand? Because I'm pretty sure I lost like 12 pounds today. Right. I mean, that place is brutal. But I mean, cold towels are a big thing. I don't know if you've ever experienced the cold towel. Like you just like come off to the side and be like, cold towels. I'm trying to run over with an ice bucket and just wring it out on your neck. Like those were always the slight delights of camp with cold towels.
From a golf lesson standpoint, what are you working on? What do you want to work on with your game?
Yeah, so peak of my game this year had been my iron play. I'd been playing really well with my irons, and then I just, for the last like 3 weeks, have just not been able to make very good contact with them at all. I mean, struggling to get them up in the air, struggling to keep them online. And so I'm getting some golf lessons this afternoon. There was an old Father's Day present. Now that I'm finally off the road, I'm going to get them scheduled. So just go out there and try and work on the iron game. I'm feeling the driver game's coming into play a little bit. The putting game's coming into play a little bit, but it's just getting to the green that has been an adventure the last few weeks.
With this hot weather tomorrow, are you at all concerned about pulling an Elijah Herbel? I did this at Topgolf once on a hot day where my hands were too sweaty and the club went flying out. Is that a real concern for you tomorrow?
Yeah, no, it's a very real thing. Like I will have to wipe down my wrists and everything before I grab a club, or else that thing. And it's a 2-glove kind of day tomorrow, right? Like you got to have 2 gloves ready to go. Like you have one on the bag, one on the hand, and then you got to rotate them out, or else they'll just get too wet. So you got to have 2 gloves ready to roll.
You filthy bastards!
Gotta do it. I'm a sweat, dude. I'm a sweater. Like, I mean, I'll walk outside for 2 seconds and just be drenched. I mean, just absolutely drenched.
You don't know.
The hot weather's not for me.
You don't know true embarrassment until every single bay at Topgolf turns over and looks at the idiot whose club just went flying 40 yards.
The best part would be if they made you go pick it up and be like, everyone stop. Everyone stop and point. Everyone stop and point at this dude. Look at him. Laugh. Ha-ha, as you walked out there to pick up your rented club.
Guy in the Hale Varsity shirt, please report to the base of Topgolf.
The guy whose club went further than the ball.
Pine Tar Elijah. So let's talk Adrian, man. He's in Jets camp. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's a big one. We want to make sure get him a chance to get in the league and compete. And he's had such a great year in the UFL. And so we was going there and he had a great workout. And I mean, talk about a room to be able to learn from a guy in Aaron Rodgers. I mean, just to absorb what he does. And I mean, I did tell him no ayahuasca retreats, like stay away from the dark rooms. But, as far as from a football side, you can't really ask for someone better to sit and learn and grow and watch how he goes about his business and does things, and he's going to get a lot of other pieces. They're not going to play Aaron in the preseason, right? Like those age quarterbacks do not play. Tyrod Taylor's the other backup. He's not going to play a ton, right? So Adrian's going to get a ton of opportunity, a ton of chances out there to go put out good film. And, show the rest of the league that even if it's not with the Jets, that he deserves to be in the NFL.
Is there anything a depth piece at quarterback can do in your eyes to give themselves a better chance at making the roster? Anything in terms of going out and maybe you take the offensive line to Isles Pub and Pizza like Dylan Raiola did this summer? No free shout-outs, but there's a free shout-out. But in all seriousness, is there anything Adrian can do or any backup quarterback can do to give themselves a better chance of making that roster?
Yeah, the number one thing is ball security. I mean, nothing will get you kicked off of a roster quicker than turnovers, right? I mean, you have to prove to that coaching staff that, hey, if Armageddon happens a la the NFC Championship a few years ago and our both starters get hurt and you need to put me in the game, I'm not going to go out there and be a turnover machine, right? And I think that's one thing Adrian did a pretty good job of this year in the UFL, but then also just showing that you're a different class of athlete than everyone else in that room. Which Adrian is, right? I mean, Tyrod Taylor back in his day was a scooter, but I mean, you talk about Aaron Rodgers, Tyrod Taylor, they drafted Jordan Travis, right? He's going to be on the NFI to start the year. He just needs to go and show that he's a completely different skill set, because then even if he's not on roster of the 53, right, you're in a division with some quarterbacks that move around a little bit, right? Josh Allen and, Tua's down there now too. And so you want to be, how can I be helpful in this? Well, I can be a great scouty too when we go play teams like Lamar Jackson or whatever it might be. So you just got to show that you're different. You just bring a completely different skill set. But at the end of the day, ball security is job security.
Watching him like you did at Nebraska and then being in the position you are with Adrian from an agent standpoint, What have you seen with your football eyes, his growth, not only in Birmingham, but since he got to the league and had a shot at Detroit and then won an MVP, where's his growth been?
Yeah, a lot of it's been in his mechanics. We got him with a great Tony Racaposi, I think's his name. He trained Kenny Pickett. He's kind of the quarterback guru. We got him involved with him right away. And Tony just really took him back to base fundamentals of just how to throw the football the proper way and how to do things mechanically, in timing, in rhythm. And I'm not trying to throw the former staff under the bus here, but he didn't get a lot of that here, right? It wasn't something that he got a lot out of Radusky and Scott Frost and that crew, and that's not a knock on them. That's just saying that the professionals do it differently, and so got him in a more of a professional NFL training environment and really saw that he has all the tools. And watching him in college, I knew he had all the tools to be an NFL quarterback. Right. And the battle, he had the toughness, he had all those things. And so getting some of that minor stuff cleaned up and getting him more in a rhythm passing scheme and a rhythm passing environment, allowed him to really showcase those talents and those abilities and the velocity he can put on the ball and the accuracy. And then obviously the stuff he can create plays. And I too truly believe watching him grow from Kansas State to the Hula Bowl to the NFLPA Bowl to Detroit to Birmingham, he has gotten better every step of the way in the process, and I thought he was playing his best football I'd ever seen him play there in Birmingham this year.
Sirles, last thought here on Adrian. Any plans to get out to, I believe it's going to be in Charlotte, the Jets and Panthers preseason game?
No, I don't do preseason games. Those are not for me, and mostly because there's no time afterwards. It's not like a normal game. Like, they pack those dudes up and ship them out right away. And I also have zero desire to go back to Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Fair enough. It's Jeremiah Sirles with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Sirles, I'm going to go back to a question I asked you with Dylan Raiola taking the offensive line out to dinner this summer. Did Taylor ever take the boys out for dinner before fall camp?
No, but to be fair, he never had as much money as Dylan Raiola had either. It's just a different world we live in. Now in the NFL, quarterbacks used to take us out all the time. They used to take care of us. They bought us Christmas gifts. Like, you take care of your big fatties up front or they don't take care of you. Right. And so I think it's a great thing. And, you got to remember, his dad played center, right? His dad played center for a long time. So if you don't think he's in his ear, like, you listen here, boy, you make sure those dudes up front are happy and fed, right? You just feed them. You speak to their hearts through their stomachs, and they'll love you for all the days going through here. So, I think it's a great move by him. I think it shows that he's figuring out he's got it. Right, like, he knows he's getting a nice NIL deal, but like, you got to take care of those guys around you, and it just shows the rest of your teammates too that you're bought in and you want to care for everyone. And I thought it was a great move by him.
Sirles, with this football team, as we get camp going, move-in day today, media session today, and then it gets real tomorrow. Your outlook here, moving forward. Rhule last week in Indy didn't put a number down with wins or expectations that way, other than, hey, I think we're going to be good. How good do you think this team can be? Are they going to be that 7-8, or do you think they can get some confidence and surprise? How talented is this roster?
Yeah, it's such a unique question, because you look at the defense and, we bring back so many guys off what was a stellar defense last year, and we lose a couple key position spots, but I feel really confident about that defense. But so much of this team and so much of every football team is we'll go as the quarterback goes, right? Like, you'll win games as well as the quarterback plays. And that's for every level of football, from NFL to college to high school to peewee. You have to have someone that can deliver the ball, manage the offense, get everyone lined up, and when the moment's there, not let it be too big for you. And so, I think a lot of it's going to be on. I'm a firm believer. I think Dylan Raiola is going to be the starter. I think he's going to win the job throughout training camp. I think he's going to be the guy going in. And I think that it's fair to think that there's going to be some bumps along the way, right? I don't think that our roster is talented enough to be like a Trevor Lawrence was when he was a freshman at Clemson, where he had first rounders all around him, right? And so they could pick up for some of those bumps in the road. I think that this is a team that 7-8 wins is very obtainable. I think it's something that's very much on the table, and that's where I kind of pencil them in right now, is that 7-8. But I do think, like you said, Schmitty, if you start getting some confidence and you start going in, you're going to give yourself an opportunity to be in games in the fourth quarter with some of the big dogs, and maybe we can get one or two of those to flip if we handle the football well and handle those high-pressure situations the right way.
It's Jeremiah Sirles with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Sirles, whenever the offseason theme is chasing three, any concerns about the kicker spot? Sounds like Tristan Alvano not going to be a full go for the start of camp. How big of a concern does that become just whenever you look at Nebraska's special team struggles over about a decade or so?
I mean, it's the same. It's like, why can't we have nice things? Like, it's always like, man, why can't we just have the kicker that can make the 30-yard, 40-yard field goal automatically? We don't need the guy that's going to bang the 55-yarders all the time. Those guys are great. But, I would rather have a guy that's going to be 85, 90% from 35 and in and be that guy. And so when you talk about issues, I mean, points come at a premium in this league, especially you start talking about late October, November. You want to have that reliable kicker because I'll tell you this, there's nothing worse from an offensive standpoint of a long drive. You grind it out, you go score a touchdown, and then you miss the extra point. Like, it's just an absolute kick in the balls. Right? Like, you're just like, oh my gosh, man, like, here we go. And it gives the momentum back because it's kind of a momentum swing back to the other team. And now you're sitting like, okay, when are we going to have to go for two? Or are we going to have to make up for this? Like, so just having a consistency piece of kicker can be so helpful for a peace of mind thing. And so, yeah, him not being healthy right now is not high on my happiness list.
Sirles, you look at Nebraska's schedule, and there are projections out there to be 7-0 into Columbus. I think we all know that Rutgers is pretty talented, pretty gritty. Colorado also has some players. I mean, so it's not just a clear and easy path. Do you worry about this team, and once they taste success, we know they're hungry, we know they've worked. Between the years, it sounds like they're cleaned up. It just needs to be done. But all right, say you go do that. Say you win some ball games. Is it a concern of being able to handle success? And what was that like for you and your mates when you guys would, kind of get hot and be in position?
Yeah, I'm sure I've said it on this show before, but Mike Zimmer had one of the greatest quotes, which is, in order to become a champion, there's a few things you have to learn how to do. First, you have to learn how to practice. Right? Once you learn how to practice, then you can learn how to win. Once you learn how to win, then you have to learn how to handle winning. Then you can become a champion, right? And it's such a thing that rang true and stuck to me forever, because when you're losing, it's really easy to be hungry to get back to the drawing board and say, okay, that didn't work. What do we have to do again? But you start stringing some wins together, it's really easy to be like, man, we're pretty good. We're feeling ourselves a little bit, right? Like, we got things rolling, things are nice, and then that's when you're leaving the door open and it'll get smacked in the face. Right? Like, you can't allow winning football games on a consistent basis to allow the urgency and the attention to detail to slip. And, so if this team can do it, and listen, Nebraska hasn't learned how to win in the last decade, right? Like, you have to learn how to win, right? That's first step. If they can learn how to win, I think Rhule's been in the NFL, and Rhule knows this enough of how to handle and how to coach a winning football team.
So it is up to the coach, not necessarily the upperclassmen, because of the current situation they're in, the urgency part to stay on edge.
Yeah, because the upperclassmen have never experienced it, right? It's one of those things, when I was in school, and like, I got to learn from guys that had won 9 games the year before, right? And then when it was my turn and I was the upper guy, like, I got to show guys the standard doesn't change. Regardless of our wins and losses totals, regardless of who we're playing this week, like, the standard is the standard, right? But when you're in a team that has just been dying and just hungry to just string wins together, no one's going to know how to react to that besides the coaching staff. It's going to be totally on the coaching staff to keep the guys focused, to call them out if they're not doing the right things, to get on their tails if they're not, hey, we won, so we can take this day a little easier, right? Like, no, none of that's acceptable. It's fully on Rhule and the staff to keep everyone with the cattle prod right placed in the spot.
Sirles, how does excitement on campus change things within the team? I know there's always a higher level of excitement during your years, during the past couple years, but I think if Dylan Rilo goes out there and has a good game against UTEP, if Nebraska can go take down Colorado in prime time, excitement on campus might be at a level we haven't seen dating back to maybe the Pelini years. What does that do to the psyche of a team whenever you walk around campus and everyone knows that you're a football guy and everyone knows that there's a big game this weekend? There's just a general buzz. What does that do to a football team?
It's super exciting. I mean, it's a ton of fun, walking around and knowing like, hey, all these kids I'm sitting in class with, like, they're going to be in the stands. they're going to be there in the boneyard on Saturday while I'm out there doing my thing. Like, and I'm going to see these guys on Monday morning here in my COM 100 class after I went and kicked the teeth out of Colorado. Like, that's a fun place to be. Equally, it can be a frustrating place to be, right? Equally, it can be like sitting in there on a Monday, like, wow, we just lost Illinois again. All these people were there probably for only 3 quarters. That really sucked, right? Like, so it's back and forth, but the buzz is fun, man. The buzz is great. It's good for energy, makes going to practice easier. It makes getting up for that early lift a little bit more. Like, there's just something about that buzz and that excitement that just really can invigorate a player.
Sirles, last thought, we'll get you out. How did Bo keep you guys grounded?
By just putting his foot in our ass every single day. I mean, it really was just more along the lines of, like, he didn't care. And he always said we're 0-0 this week. Right? Like, and he did not change practice. He did not change the way we prepared, whether we win or whether we lost. Right? And that just kind of set the tempo for us of like, okay, it really doesn't matter. It's a 1-week season every single week.
Did he take time to enjoy some big wins though?
24-hour rule. You got the 24-hour rule, right? As soon as you're done, you got the 24-hour rule. As soon as Sunday's over, you flush it and you start the new week.
Mm-hmm. Jeremiah Sirles, Papa Sirles with us, Hail Varsity Radio. You'll hear him with the Husker Network, of course, and check out his pod. Sirles, what's the O-line pod you do?
Yep, so we got the O-line Committee podcast. We drop it every week. It's an offensive lineman lifestyle podcast that we like to just do really stupid things, talk about our fun times, and break down tape. So if you're an offensive lineman, or if you strive to be one day, or if maybe you just want to hang out with the boys, stop on by.
There he is. Sirles, thank you.
I absolutely appreciate you guys. Go Big Red.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it at Hail Varsity. It's powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. You know it's football season. You know it's camp time, and we bring out the fullback, Joel Makovicka, with us. Makovicka Physical Therapy, 3-time national champ, Husker Hall of Famer, glorious golfer. And
I knew you were gonna bring that up.
No, you're a glorious golfer. I wasn't done yet, and one hell of a model American.
Golfing's one of those sports that, like, that's why I used to like football. The more pissed off you got, the better you got in football. Golf's not that way, so I'm just not a very good golfer.
It's all part of the rage, huh?
See, I feel like there's not a lot of overlap between fullbacks in sports that require finesse. Not a lot of overlap there.
I have some hand-eye coordination, but yeah, not a lot. The finesse part, I lack a little bit.
I'm the same way.
That's all right. Joel, it is awesome to chat with you, man. I know you're fired up about 2024. We'll get there. I know you're fired up about recruiting. We'll get there. But what have you been up to, man? What's the world of Makovicka been?
I'll tell you what, just kind of trying to stay busy. You know how that goes. We've kind of grown kind of over the years, just grown quite a bit. We have 21, 22 locations, so it's kept me busy, and tried to get out and do some fun things at some point. But this is the best time of the year. It gets me excited. I miss it, you know. Like I'm sure you guys have seen The Receiver and all those Netflix shows, and I watch those and kind of miss the game of football at this point of the season, and it's just exciting. Because this is the time we get all jacked up for the football season. We
were wondering just the neck roll, because you wore the neck roll. And
it was called a Cowboy collar at that time. Let's get it correct.
You were a proud member of the Cowboy collar fraternity. And when did you start wearing it? And did you ever not wear it?
See, but that's the thing. Like nowadays, football's changed quite a bit. Like there's, people talk about it's basketball on grass, and we'll get into this. I think Nebraska's offense is going to change a little bit, and I don't think they're going to be running fullback. I don't like to see that, but I think that's just kind of the evolution now going into year 2. We're not going to see that very much, and football's changed where, they try to get, people in space, and it's a quarterback's game and a receiver's game and a tight end's game. So quarterback or football in my day, I started wearing neck rolls in high school and even at running back and not fullback, and started wearing those in high school. And you see all the 80s and 90s, and the big pads, it's changed a lot. People get smaller pads. They want to be faster, more agile, mobile. But so that kind of started for me in high school, and it didn't change. Even at Nebraska, though, I had a smaller neck roll or the Cowboy collar than I did in high school. So it was an evolution, and now you don't see them at all. And it's just everybody's wearing smaller pads.
Joel, I don't have much empirical evidence to back this up, so I want to get your take on it. Does the neck roll, the Cowboy collar, does that let somebody hit harder? Because it sure seems like it.
Well, the biggest thing for that, honestly, was, my position when you were isolating and blocking on defensive ends or linebackers or in a lot of collisions, what it did was help the neck not get bent back as far and eliminated some of the stingers in the game, the nerve problems with the neck. So it was just one of those things that protected. We did a lot of neck exercises to keep our neck strong, because that was a big deal, because we were always taught with Coach Solich, and that is we led with our face mask. And football's changed. I mean, we wanted to get our face mask up under their face mask, under their pads. So we could do a lot of our blocking without shoulder pads, because we would punch and we would hit first with our face mask. And so our necks had to be strong, and so that was just a little added benefit to help with that. But yeah, I think it feels like people would hit harder, but the game's changed, man. Like, you sometimes get penalties if you would probably hit like we did, as far as what we were taught. But it was just something they came up with to help eliminate some neck injuries.
Joel Makovicka with us, Hail Varsity Radio, talking Big Red 2024. Ron Brown is now helping out on field, Joel, with the fullbacks and returners. You were there, and a lot of Ron's guys in the receiver room would be the return guys, and Nebraska during your time always had a threat as a returner, but Ron's shown the ability to be a hell of a good running backs coach, even when he was with Bo and Amir and company. So what's your reaction to Ron's role now, a coach that was there when you were down there?
My reaction is when he's going to retire. Isn't he like 112 right now?
He's still Coach still looks 50. Yeah, he still looks 40 to 50.
Yeah. And you know what? I love having Coach Brown around. He's somebody that's just a very positive, unbelievable coach to have around. And like you said, he coached our receivers, and we were around him a lot because our receivers had a block. So sometimes we did a lot of drills together they would come over to the running back drills to learn some blocking. But I think anytime you can have a guy like that around the program, it's huge for the program. And he spanned, how many decades there at the program. So, there's some wisdom he brings to that. And now, like I said earlier, I just don't know. I think it's going to be more of what he's going to be coaching is bringing his wisdom to all the positions and kind of being a quality control guy and working with the returners, because I really believe that you're not going to see much fullback this year. I think you bring in a guy like Dylan, I think they're going to kind of change the offense and go with a more quarterback-heavy offense and not under center quite a bit. So I think you'll just see the fullback, if they do it much this year, it'll be goal line, short yardage situation. That might be it. So I think his role is more, hey, he's going to help with returners because he's done that. And he's coached a lot of positions from running backs to receivers. But I think it's just an experienced guy, and having somebody like that with his positivity, his experience, being around all the guys and being more of like that quality control guy.
Joel, fullbacks, though, you might not have them featured maybe as traditionally in the offense, but they can still catch passes. I got your stats page pulled up here. You had 9 catches and 1 touchdown in the backfield.
Yes. People don't – I'm glad you brought that up. People didn't think I ever had hands, and caught 9 balls at Nebraska in that era. That's like Justin Jefferson at Minnesota catching 100 a year with that. So I had some hands, but yeah. we started putting more of that in to where I would go in motion a little bit and go out on some routes and things like that. But I'll be honest with you, I don't see that. And I could be totally wrong, but I just don't see us using a lot of fullback. I know last year with Coach Satterfield, they talked about bringing the fullback in more and being more of a two-back running offense at some points in the season, but we didn't see that. And I think now you bring in a Coach Thomas that has NFL experience, UNLV experience, kind of from some of these spread attacks, and you get a guy like Dylan that, I'll be honest with you, he's going to be the starter. We can talk about that. We cannot talk about that. He's going to be the starter. That's what you bring a kid like that in. And so I think they are going to start moving that offense towards kind of put him in the gun a little bit as a young guy so he can see the field. And I would like to see the fullback more, but I think you're just going to see it more in short yardage and goal line if they do it.
Joel, I do like that you brought up Justin Jefferson to go back for just half a second here, because I'm not sure if you know this. Justin Jefferson, 14.6 yards per reception in college. Joel Makovicka, 14.1 yards per reception. So the comparison might not be far off.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm a little faster than he was. That's one big difference. I was a little faster than he was. He might have slightly better hands, but yeah, if you just look at yards per catch, I'm right up there with the Justin Jefferson.
Stats don't lie.
Well, I remember a play where they faked a give to you. You went straight up the middle, and you got pretty much tackled by the safety because everyone bit. I don't know if it was against Arizona or K-State, but you drew a pretty healthy flag on 3rd and 9. I remember that happening where they were going to throw it to you, all by your lonesome as you shot through the middle. It was a fake give to you up the middle, and you still went out on a route, and you'd still be running, I think.
Yeah, that's it. I think it was so our isolation plays used to be like, isolation on the Mike linebacker. So then those plays where we'd fake the ISO, and then you would slip the linebacker and then be running free. So the only way they could control me was to tackle me if I'd get in running route. So otherwise, I would have torched them. So that's what happens. Is you draw some flags. That's as good as a catch in my book. So
it would have been 17 a catch, not this 14.1.
Yeah.
Good to spend time with Joel Makovicka, Hail Varsity Radio. More with the Husker Hall of Fame fullback. We'll dive into some more thoughts on Nebraska 2024, but always love catching up with Joel. Give him hell about how much time he spends on the golf course versus in the office. He resents that. And he may, Elijah, just pretend I'm a middle linebacker next time we run into each other, and he may just, I don't know, pancake me or something like that. I'll have to make peace next time we see him and get him out to the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill like we did last August and get him a tequila and soda with a little lime.
Well, if I know anything about fullbacks, they do have a mean streak in them.
Yeah.
But they don't hide it. Like, when a fullback's angry. He doesn't sound angry with us today, does he?
No, not yet.
Well, yeah, we are bringing it back for one more segment.
Yeah,
plenty of time to
more with Makovicka coming up. If you missed part of the first hour, check out Mitch Sherman. If you want to catch up with Jeremiah Sirles, he kicked off hour 2. And we invite you to check out the podcast with Hail Varsity Radio, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. Like and subscribe. Tell a friend. Give us a rating, good, bad, or ugly. We love the feedback. You want the video portion, and you don't want to bleach your eyes looking at me or Elijah for 2 hours. Totally get it. Hail Varsity YouTube is where you go. Like and subscribe there. And always give us a follow at HVarsity Radio on Twitter, at Herbalescence, at Schmidt_radio. We were up against it. We have Mr. Makovicka on hold. More with Joel coming up on Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Joel Makovicka is with us, Hail Varsity Radio, Husker Football Thoughts. Let's dive into Dylan. Joel, and you know the family well. You know what
Yeah.
Coach Rhule did. You follow recruiting. I mean, you're excited about the recruiting aspect of things, and what a get. But now, what do you do with the talent here? Are you pretty jacked about what could be, what can be with a freshman quarterback, the good and the bad?
Absolutely. You know, here's the deal. Like we talked a little earlier, football is a quarterback-driven league now, and quarterback-driven game. And I think there's a different level of excitement with Nebraska right now because Dylan is there, and there is some hope that we have. You know, the quarterback of the future, the quarterback that can do some things, because teams are built around quarterbacks nowadays. There's not many teams that win that don't have a great quarterback. I mean, you see some that their roster is littered with dudes, and from top to bottom that they can win. For example, San Francisco 49ers don't have a top echelon NFL quarterback but made the Super Bowl. But you look at all the other teams that are right there at the Super Bowl or, you know, making the college football playoff, they usually have great quarterbacks. So I think that brings some excitement to the fans, some renewed excitement, because I don't know if we've had that since, you know, the excitement we have building up to this year. I don't know if we've had that since, you know, the first year Scott got here, Coach Frost got here with Adrian Martinez, and I think everybody was excited with that. So it brings a whole new level of excitement because, you know, I feel like this kid can be pretty special. And, you know, you watch him, and I watched him a few times during the spring, and it's amazing to me. And I played with his dad, know his dad really well, Dom, and I don't know if you guys have met Dom, but
yeah,
he's a different breed. And Dom being around the program excites me a little bit too, is because Dom will be around the program when you have a kid at the level of Dylan. He'll be around the program a lot, and then his brother Donovan is coaching the offensive line. So to have a guy like that around the program, that he breeds excellence, and that we had a lot of guys like that, and he's one of those guys, and I think that's what Dylan learned from. And, you know, just being around him and being around looking at Dylan in spring ball, listen, he's been coached by some of the best coaches since he was 9 years old. Patrick Mahomes' coached him since he was 9, and it's eerily similar, like the mannerisms. And I'm not saying he's going to be a Patrick Mahomes. That's not what I'm saying. But the mannerisms that I see out of Dylan, just watching practice, from the way he dresses, you know, his body type, the way he runs, the way he puts his hands together to signal a huddle, it is eerily similar to Mahomes, and he was coached by that quarterback. And again, I don't want people to say Joel thinks he's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes, but I think you bring a guy like that in there that wants it and saw at the collegiate level and the NFL level what his dad accomplished. I think that's great for the program, and that breeds a level of excitement. And I think they're going to have him in this offense kind of, you know, he's a young guy, but I think nowadays freshman quarterbacks like that come in more ready to play than they ever have, because the high school offenses have become a lot like college offenses. And so I think that we'll tailor the offense a little bit to the things he can do well and keep it a little simple. And if we can protect him, I think there's a lot of excitement this year for the Huskers.
Joel, what are some things you're watching for with Dylan in terms of confirming that he is what we think he is or what he can be? What are some things you're going to watch for early in the season? Just that your expert eyes, I guess, can see that, you know, this guy's got it in terms of leadership, in terms of what he can do on the field. What are you watching for?
I mean, I think you saw some of that in the spring game, right? Like, this kid's got arm talent, and you saw that in the spring game that we haven't seen a quarterback put the ball where he put it in some of those throws he had in the spring game. So that's a big thing to me, is like arm talent and the way he commands a huddle, and I think his body language and the way I saw his body language is, I think he is one of those guys that you have to have a level of confidence, especially at that position. You have to have a level of confidence that you come in, even as a young guy, that you know you're a dude, and that even these older guys, that you can command the huddle with these older guys in the huddle, and it's all about a lot of it's on you. And I think you saw that years and years and years ago when I was playing when Tommy came in. And Tommy Frazier was one of those dudes that came from Florida as a freshman and started halfway through the year, and he had that presence around him. And I think you see that a little bit with Dylan just because he's been around it. I mean, his dad played 14 years in the NFL, won national titles with Nebraska in the Ring of Honor. So I think body language to me is going to be a big deal, and just how he commands the huddle and grasps the offense, which I don't think he'll have a problem with. And then he's got the arm talent to do what we need him to do. As long as we can protect him and we have guys on the outside and tight ends that are his best friend and he can get confidence early, I think that's huge for a guy like Dylan.
Joel, what success look like to you this season?
Bowl game, period. Like, I think it has to be a bowl game. Listen, there's a lot of odds makers out there that have us over-under win total for the year 7.5. Mm-hmm. I think that's, absolutely realistic. But to me, I think success, when's the last time? 2016, we were in a bowl game. I think that's right. And that's kind of unheard of for Nebraska. Up until like the mid-60s, we were in bowl games every year. I think it's key to get to a bowl game, and here's why, is because you always sell a vision to recruits. And so you have to go. Matt Rhule has to be able to sell, the vision to recruits, and the vision is working, and what we are doing is working. And the next step of that in year 2 is going to a bowl game, because we go to a bowl game, he can go to recruits and he says, "See, this is working. I did it at Temple. I did it at Baylor. I'm doing it at Nebraska." And the next step is then 11-2 college football playoff. But I think you have to make those steps and those things you can sell to recruits, that they understand your vision and know that what it takes to get there, and you're gaining on that.
That positive momentum would be key. That wanted snowball versus the Indiana Jones snowball that is hurt the program early on. Joel, we'll say goodbye. Joel Makovicka, Husker great with us, Hail Varsity Radio. We will get you back, putting you on the spot right now for Buffs Hate Week. All right?
Let's do it. We're actually having the 94 reunion that game. So I think that game's going to be electric. Obviously, Dion comes to town. A lot of guys will be back. We get that game. That's a game we need to get. It'd be fun to get back on.
No, we'll give you a holler. We'll bump into you soon and work on that short game.
Did you just call me short?
No, I said work on the golf. We started talking golf and talking golf.
Got it. I'll break your other ankle.
Yeah, I know you will.
Now's the time, because Schmidt can't run away.
Never could. I'm going to show up in one of those, instead of a cowboy collar, I'm going to show up in a neck brace next time you see me.
After I get done with you, you'll be in a body cast.
And then you'll charge me $25 so you can sign it.
That's what we do.
I love it. Joel, you be good, man. Always appreciate you.
All right, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
That was a lot of fun chatting with Joel Makovicka. Some fullback, some football, and that's a hell of a business plan. I will do the physical therapy part on my other ankle.
Bit of a racket, I think. Joel Makovicka just lays out whoopings on people in order to get them to come into his physical therapy shop.
Smart aleck radio hosts with one broken ankle. He will give you the matching set and then fix me back to health. But love it. Love talking with Makovicka and Sirles this hour. Big thanks to Mitch Sherman in hour 1. Can we find anything to bet? You haven't done a steak and a beer bet forever. Is there anything Olympic-wise that you don't feel completely dirty about wagering on?
Well, the problem with the Olympics betting is it's usually going down the day, and there's the replay that goes down at night. So I know most of the results from today already.
So your honesty will not be rewarded.
I'll take the women's gymnastics team to win.
for a G. Any baseball? We need. Was there any preseason football yet?
No.
We can go straight degenerate and just, let's bet some preseason football.
Are there any decent games tonight after the deadline? You got the Pirates and the Astros. Skeens was on the bump yesterday, though, unfortunately. And I don't want to touch the Pirates if the Skeens ain't pitching.
Well, that's a good business decision.
Padres, Dodgers, Royals, White Sox. I'll take the Royals.
Yeah, you better. What is it, 15 in a row the White Sox have lost?
Well, let's look into the Olympic schedule. We could bet...
what happens overnight?
Men's handball between Norway and Hungary at 2 in.
Who's the favorite?
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, if there's got to be a score line, right? Minus 120 on Hungary.
We got Puerto Rico and Spain women's basketball 4 in.
Okay.
Men's handball Germany versus Croatia 4 in. None of this is striking your fancy.
No, it's not.
There's women's hockey, Australia versus United States, 6:15 in.
They're doing hockey during the summer games?
Field hockey.
Okay, as I say.
Field hockey.
That's a stretch.
Women's beach volleyball, USA versus France, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. No,
okay.
None of this. Okay.
Forget it.
Women's volleyball, United States, Serbia tomorrow.
All right.
I'm not betting Serbia. I don't know about you.
No, I mean, the women are your favorite, aren't they?
Yeah.
Them in Australia.
Well, even though the women did lose their first round game.
I saw that.
Yeah,
China?
China.
In 5 sets?
Yeah, no. It's fun to talk about betting all this, but at the end of the day, I really don't know anything about most of these Summer Olympic sports.
You just roll the dice, you take a flyer.
Go back to baseball. You can just do a straight-up bet not knowing anything. Mariners, Red Sox.
Give me the Bo Sox.
You'll take the Sox?
Oh, yeah.
I'll take the Mariners.
Okay.
Done deal. The Mariners, horrible hitting, but they're pitching
What's
solid.
the run line?
I don't know.
Let's look it up.
Give me a second. It's 1.5 in favor of the Mariners.
Okay. I'll take the 1.5 runs.
Deal.
Cool.
I trust that Mariners. I think Mariners win this game 4-1, 5-1. 5-1 is what I'll say.
Coach Brandon has a interesting comment about sand volleyball. Eat Beef loves sand volleyball. Crew, big fan of sand volleyball. See, we just wandered on to sand volleyball, and all of our folks in the stream are big-time fans.
I was watching sand volleyball earlier. It was great.
Let's say hi to Mike Babcock tomorrow, Evan Bland tomorrow, and Jock Doc tomorrow. Back at you Wednesday, 4 o'clock with Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager.